My name is Hannah Whitmore, and I was 29 years old on the morning I found the letter on my kitchen table. I still remember how normal everything seemed at first. The coffee machine was on, the curtains were half open, the chair where he usually sat was a little pushed back, like he had just stood up a minute ago. For one short second I thought he was in the other room. I thought I would hear his voice calling my name. But there was only the letter. A single white envelope with my name written on it in his handwriting. The same handwriting that used to write "I love you" on sticky notes and leave them on the fridge. I knew it was from him the second I saw the way he wrote my name, Hannah. Simple and soft, with that little curve on the H that he always made. My chest felt tight as I picked it up. The house was too quiet. The air felt heavy. The sun coming through the window did not feel warm like other mornings. It felt cold. Wrong. I called his name once just to be sure. "Ethan?" My voice broke on the last letter. No answer, no steps, no water running in the bathroom, no music from his phone, only the humming sound of the fridge and my heart beating fast. I told myself not to panic. Maybe he just went for a walk. Maybe he was at the bakery down the street. Maybe he left a sweet note saying he bought my favorite bread, the one with seeds on top. My mind tried to grab any normal explanation, any little hope that this envelope did not mean what I already felt deep inside. My fingers shook when I opened it. The paper inside had only a few lines. It was not long. It did not explain the way I needed. It was short, like a goodbye whispered in a hurry. "Dear Hannah," it started. He almost never called me dear. He called me Han or my girl, or sometimes just hey you with a smile. Seeing "Dear Hannah" made my stomach turn. It felt distant, formal, wrong. I read each word slowly, as if I could change them if I took my time. He wrote that he was sorry. He wrote that he had to go. He said it was the only way to keep me safe. He said it was not my fault. He said I should not try to find him. He wrote, "Please trust me. This is the only way." And then the line that cut everything inside me. He left a letter, but he never came back. He did not sign his full name like he did on old letters. He only wrote "Love, E," as if he was afraid to leave more of himself on the page. I held that paper so tight that it crumpled in my hand. My eyes burned, but the tears did not fall right away. It was like my body refused to accept the words. I read the letter again and again, hoping to see a hint, an address, a time, a promise that he would return. But there was nothing. No, "I'll see you soon." No, "Wait for me." Only final words dressed as protection. I walked through the apartment in slow steps, like someone waking up from a strange dream. His jacket was gone from the back of the chair. His favorite mug, the blue one with a small crack near the handle, was washed and turned upside down by the sink. His shoes were not near the door. The small corner of the room where he kept his guitar looked empty, like he had carefully removed pieces of himself from the place we shared. He left the letter, but he took everything that was his, everything except me. I tried to remember the night before, searching for signs I had ignored. Ethan had been quieter than usual. He smiled, but his eyes looked far away, like he was watching something only he could see. I asked if he was okay, and he kissed my forehead and said, "I'm just tired, yawn. Long day." Then he held me a little longer than normal when we went to bed. His arms around me felt strong and desperate at the same time. There was a tremor in his chest that I felt under my cheek, but I told myself it was nothing. I did not want to believe in bad signs. Now, standing alone in the kitchen with that letter in my hand, all those small details came back like sharp pictures in my mind. The way he looked at me when I turned off the light. The way he whispered, "Whatever happens, remember I love you, okay?" As if he was afraid I would doubt it soon. At the time, I answered, half asleep, "Of course you do. I know, I did not ask why he said whatever happens. I did not ask what he was scared of. I wish I had. I wish I had shaken him and said, 'Tell me what's going on.' But I didn't. I pressed my back against the wall and slid down until I was sitting on the cold tile floor. The letter lay open on my lap. My hands covered my face as the first tear finally fell, then another, and another. Soon I was crying so hard that I could not breathe right. The kind of crying that comes from a place so deep inside you that you did not even know it was there. Every memory we had together rushed to my mind at once. Our first date at the small diner near the river, the way he laughed when I spilled coffee on my shirt, The night he told me about his fears, about his family, about the darkness he said sometimes followed him. Back then, I thought those were just words. I thought everybody had a little darkness in their past. I did not know his darkness had hands. I did not know it had a name. I did not know it could knock on our door and take him away from me. Not like this. Not with a letter as the only explanation. I hugged my knees and whispered his name into the empty room. Ethan. It felt wrong to say it out loud without him answering. As if I was calling a ghost. After a long time, when my tears became slower and my head started to ache, I forced myself to stand up. I had this strange feeling that if I moved fast, I would break into pieces. So I moved carefully, like someone walking through glass. I washed my face in the bathroom sink and stared at my reflection in the mirror. My eyes were red and swollen. My hair was a mess. I looked like someone who had just lost a person in an accident, but he was not dead. At least, I did not know that. He was just gone. Gone by choice. Gone with secrets. I pressed the letter flat on the counter and read it one more time, trying to read between the lines. I have to protect you, Hannah. There are things I never told you. If I stay, you will get hurt. Please do not look for me. Please live your life. Please be happy. The words "things I never told you" burned inside me. What things? What had he kept from me? We had lived together for almost 3 years. We shared the same bed, the same bills, the same stupid inside jokes. I thought we shared our fears too. Suddenly, I realized I did not know him as well as I believed. My heart did not accept his request. Do not look for me? How could I just sit and pretend my life was normal now? Go to work, cook dinner, watch shows alone on the couch where we used to curl up together. I could hear his voice in my head saying, "Trust me, Han, please." But trust felt like the last thing I had left, and it was broken. I opened the kitchen drawer where we kept small things like keys, old receipts, and spare change. I searched for anything that might give me a clue. His spare car key was still there. That made my chest twist. If he left in his car, why would he leave the extra key? It was like he was both careful and careless at the same time. Like he wanted to disappear but could not erase everything. I walked to the bedroom and opened his closet. Some of his clothes were gone, but not all. He had left his old gray hoodie, the one he wore when it rained. He never went anywhere far without it. I pressed the hoodie to my face and inhaled his scent. It almost made me collapse again. That was the moment a cold thought entered my mind for the first time. What if he was not just protecting me from something outside? What if he was protecting me from himself? From something he had done or something he was about to do? I shook my head, refusing the idea. Ethan was not perfect, but he was kind. He was the man who carried old women's grocery bags up the stairs in our building. The man who left big tips even when we had little money. The man who held stray cats in his arms so gently you would think they were made of glass. Still, the fear stayed there, a small knot in my stomach. I walked back to the table and picked up my phone. My hand hovered over his contact. Ethan, with a picture of him grinning at the camera, hair messy from the wind. I pressed call. It rang once, twice, 3 times, then I went to voicemail. Hearing his recorded voice made my eyes sting again. "Hey, this is Ethan. Leave a message or don't, I'll call you anyway." It used to make me smile. This time it hurt. I tried again. Same result. I could have left a message. I could have screamed into the phone, begged him to come back, cursed him, cried, but I stayed silent. I hung up. If he had his phone, he was choosing not to answer. If he did not have it, the letter was even more final than it seemed. I felt trapped between hope and reality. Hope said, he will call. He will walk through that door. Reality said he left a letter. That is all you have. In that heavy, still air, another thought came. Maybe someone knew something. Maybe this was not just a sudden, random decision. Maybe there had been signs in the last weeks that I had ignored. I thought of his best friend Lucas, the one he had known since high school. The one who always looked at me like he knew more than he could say. I remembered how Lucas had gone quiet the last time we met at a bar. When Ethan went to the bathroom, Lucas studied me for a moment and asked, "You're okay, right, Hannah?" in a strange, careful tone. Now that memory felt different. I picked up my bag, grabbed the letter, and slipped it inside. The paper felt like a small bomb against my chest. My hands were still unsteady as I put on my shoes. I did not know exactly what I was going to do. I only knew I could not stay in that apartment waiting for a miracle. I locked the door behind me and walked down the stairs, each step echoing with the memory of days when Ethan walked beside me. Outside, the sky was gray, heavy with clouds. The air smelled like rain. As I stepped into the street, one single thought repeated in my mind again and again, like a broken song. He left a letter, but he never came back. And I felt deep inside that if I did nothing, if I just obeyed his request and tried to live my life, a part of me would die anyway. So I took a deep breath, held my bag tight, and turned toward the place where everything had started between us. The little cafe on the corner of Willow Street, where Lucas sometimes worked extra hours. If there were answers, I had to start somewhere. And maybe, just maybe, someone there knew why the man I loved had walked out of my life with nothing but a letter as goodbye. I did not know it yet, but the moment I pushed that cafe door open, my life was about to split even more. And the truth behind Ethan's letter was waiting for me, darker and more painful than anything I was ready to face. The bell above the cafe door made a soft sound as I walked in, the familiar little ding that used to mean comfort and warm mornings with him. Today it felt sharp, like a reminder of how different everything was now. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air, mixing with the quiet chatter of a few customers. This place used to feel like our safe corner in the world. Now it felt like a place holding secrets I was not ready to hear. I looked around slowly, searching for Lucas. He was behind the counter, wiping a cup with a cloth, but as soon as he saw me, his hands stopped. His face changed. Not in surprise, but in recognition of something he already expected. My heart sank. He whispered something to the girl working next to him and quickly walked around the counter. "Hannah," he said in a low voice, his eyes scanning my face. "You look pale. What happened?" His tone was calm, but there was tension beneath it, like he already knew part of the answer. I didn't want to speak in the middle of the cafe where people could hear. My throat was tight. I opened my bag and held up the envelope with shaking fingers. "He left this," I said. Lucas's jaw locked. For a moment he looked at the floor, then back at me with a kind of tired sadness. "Let's go to the back," he said softly. He led me through the small door near the espresso machine. The back room was cramped, filled with boxes of sugar packets and stacks of cups. The light flickered slightly. Lucas closed the door behind us, crossed his arms, and took a deep breath. "I knew something was wrong," he said. He wasn't himself these last weeks. My pulse quickened. "So you did know," I whispered. "You knew something was happening and you didn't tell me." He shook his head quickly. "Not exactly. I didn't know details. Ethan told me he was dealing with something he couldn't talk about yet. I thought it was personal. I thought he needed time. I didn't think he would leave." The idea that Ethan had been carrying something alone, something heavy enough to make him disappear, made my chest ache. I handed the letter to Lucas. He read it quietly, his eyes darkening at each line. When he finished, he folded it back slowly, almost afraid of breaking it. "He didn't want you in danger," Lucas said. "Whatever this is, he believed you were safer without him." I shook my head. "But safer from what? What could be so serious that he had to leave everything behind?" Lucas hesitated. The silence stretched thin, like a thread ready to snap. My breath caught. "Lucas," I said, my voice trembling, "please. I need you to tell me everything you know." He rubbed his forehead with his palm. "I don't know everything, Hannah. I really don't, but I know enough to worry." The word worry hit me hard. My voice came out smaller than I expected. Was someone after him? Lucas swallowed, avoiding my eyes for a moment. Not exactly someone, more like something from his past. Something he tried to leave behind. The room suddenly felt colder. I remembered Ethan saying once that everyone has shadows. But I never imagined his shadows could swallow him whole. I pressed my hand to my chest, trying to steady my breathing. "He should have told me," I whispered. Lucas looked at me with sympathy. "He loved you. That's exactly why he didn't." I closed my eyes. His words made sense in the most painful way. I opened my eyes again, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on me. "I'm going to find him," I said, my voice quiet but steady. Lucas shook his head. Hannah? No, I interrupted. I can't just sit and do nothing, I need answers. Lucas looked torn, but finally he sighed. If you're really going after him, there's one person who might know more. My heart began to race again. Who? Lucas hesitated. His brother. I felt a shock go through me. Ethan doesn't have a brother, I said automatically. Lucas looked away. He never told you about him? No, I said, my voice cracking. He told me he was an only child. Lucas exhaled slowly. He's not. His brother's name is Nathan, and Ethan would never talk about him. Something bad happened between them years ago. My mind spun. Secrets on top of secrets. A whole piece of Ethan's life hidden from me. Where is Nathan? I asked. Lucas looked at me, his jaw tight. He works at an auto shop near Ridgeway Avenue. But, Hannah, be careful, Nathan is not like Ethan, he's intense and complicated. I swallowed the knot in my throat. Complicated was something I could handle. Losing Ethan without a fight was not. I need to talk to him, I said. Lucas nodded slowly. At least wait until the rain stops, he said. Only then I realized I could hear heavy drops hitting the back door, but I didn't care about the weather. My chest felt like it was made of glass, and every second without answers made another crack. I headed for the cafe exit, but Lucas grabbed my hand gently. Hannah, he said, his voice low and sincere, whatever you think you're gonna hear from Nathan, prepare yourself. Ethan kept you away from him for a reason. I nodded, though fear tightened my stomach. I pushed the door open and stepped into the rain, letting the cold drops hit my face like they were waking me up from inside. The street was gray and blurred with rain, but I kept walking. Each step felt like a battle between courage and heartbreak. I repeated Ethan's last line in my head. Please don't come looking for me. But I couldn't obey him. Loving someone meant fighting for them, even when they were gone. Especially then. I clutched my bag tighter as the wind pushed against me. Ridgeway Avenue was 30 minutes away on foot, but it didn't matter. Nothing mattered except finding his brother and understanding what had stolen Ethan from my life. Every drop of rain felt like a countdown to something unknown. And as I turned the corner with my heart pounding hard and the letter burning inside my bag, I realized this was only the first step, the first door I had to push open. And behind it, the truth was waiting, dark, sharp, and closer than I ever imagined. The rain didn't slow down. It fell harder as I walked toward Ridgeway Avenue, soaking through my jacket and dripping from my hair, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. Each step felt heavy, but my heart felt heavier. Cars passed by, their headlights blurry through the storm, and people hurried under umbrellas, moving fast, moving with purpose. I felt like the only person walking the opposite way, searching for something everyone else was trying to avoid. Ethan's letter pressed against my ribs with every breath, reminding me why I was out here, why I couldn't turn back. By the time I reached Ridgeway Avenue, my shoes were soaked, and my fingers were cold. The auto shop was at the far end of the street, a place I had never noticed before. The sign above the garage door was old and faded, and the windows were fogged from the heat inside. Through the glass, I could see men working on engines, the smell of oil and metal floating into the rain. I hesitated for a moment, my hand hovering over the door handle. This place didn't feel like somewhere Ethan would ever want me to be, but that only made me push the door open. The warmth inside hit me instantly, along with the loud noise of tools and engines. A tall man with dark hair and sharp eyes looked up first. His jaw tightened as soon as he saw me. I didn't even need to ask who he was. Something about his face, his cheekbones, the way his eyebrows arched, the shape of his mouth reminded me of Ethan in a way that made my heart twist. But where Ethan's eyes were soft and warm, this man's eyes were cold and guarded. "You're Hannah," he said, not with surprise, but like he had been waiting for this exact moment. My stomach dropped. "You know who I am?" I asked, my voice shaking a little. He took a slow breath, wiped his hands on a cloth, and nodded. "Yeah, he talked about you." My heart jumped at the word talked. It felt like a small piece of Ethan was still close. "You're Nathan," I whispered. He didn't confirm it. He didn't have to. The silence around his name spoke louder than words. He jerked his head toward a small office at the back. Come on, we can't talk out here. His tone wasn't friendly, but it wasn't hostile either. It was tense, like he was trying to hold something back. I followed him, my shoes leaving wet marks on the floor. My heart beating faster the closer I stepped to the truth I wasn't sure I was ready to face. The office was small and messy. Papers everywhere, a broken clock on the wall, a chair with a torn cushion. Nathan closed the door behind us and leaned against the desk, crossing his arms. "You shouldn't be here," he said. That sentence felt like déjà vu. The letter said the same. "Don't look for me." But I lifted my chin, refusing to break. "Your brother left me with nothing but a letter. I need answers." Nathan sighed, rubbing the side of his face. "I figured this would happen. I told him this plan wouldn't work." The word plan made my breath catch. Plan? What plan? He looked at me with a mixture of frustration and sadness. Stin didn't just leave. He didn't walk away because he wanted to. He left because he didn't have a choice. The room felt smaller suddenly, like the air had changed. "What do you mean?" I whispered. Nathan looked at the floor. "There are people who don't forgive. People Ethan got involved with a long time ago, before he met you. He tried to fix something that couldn't be fixed, and now they're looking for him, and for anyone connected to him." A chill ran down my spine, so cold it hurt. "Are you saying he left to protect me from these people?" I asked. Nathan nodded. "He thought if he disappeared they'd stop watching you. But Ethan—" He paused, his voice lower now. "Ethan always carried more danger inside him than he wanted you to see." I shook my head. "No, he was good. He was kind." Nathan met my eyes with a strange softness. "He was both. Good men can still make mistakes." I felt tears burning behind my eyelids. "If he's in danger, I need to help him. I can't just give up." Nathan's jaw clenched. "That's exactly why he left. Because he knew you'd follow. You have his heart. That makes you a target." The word target hit me so hard I stepped back without meaning to. I felt like the floor wasn't steady anymore. Nathan noticed. He softened just a little. "Listen, I don't want you hurt. And I don't want his sacrifice to mean nothing." Sacrifice. The word echoed deep inside me. I reached into my bag and pulled out the letter. "If you know where he is, please tell me, I'm begging you." Nathan didn't look at the paper. He looked at my face, long, quiet, searching for something inside me. "You really love him that much?" he said. "Yes," I whispered. "More than anything." He exhaled slowly, like giving in to a fight he had been avoiding. "I don't know exactly where he is, he didn't tell me. But I know where he went last, before he disappeared." My heart sped up. "Where?" Nathan walked to the desk and grabbed an old keychain with a scratched metal tag. "A storage place on Harbor Road. He kept something there. Something he didn't want in the house. Maybe it will explain more than I can." My hand shook as I took the keychain from him. "Why are you helping me?" Nathan looked away. "Because Ethan would want me to. And because I owe him more than you can imagine." I held the key tightly, feeling the metal press into my palm. Another door. Another step into a part of Ethan's life I had never seen. The fear inside me grew. But so did something else, something stronger. Determination. Nathan leaned close enough for me to feel the warmth of his breath. "Hannah, when you open whatever he left there, be ready. Some truths don't come softly." I swallowed hard. "I'm ready," I said, though my voice trembled. I wasn't ready. But love doesn't wait for readiness. It moves you forward, even when you're walking straight into the dark. I stepped out of the office, the key cold in my hand, and felt the rain calling me back outside. Harbor Road was waiting. And so was the secret Ethan had hidden from me. I walked back into the rain with the key in my hand, feeling like the world around me had shifted in a way I couldn't explain. The air felt heavier. The streetlights flickered through the storm, blurring into long streaks of gold on the wet pavement. Every sound, the distant siren, the splash of tires on water, even my own footsteps, felt louder than normal, like the whole city was listening. Nathan's words kept echoing in my mind. Some truths don't come softly. My hands were trembling, but not just from the cold. Fear and hope were mixing inside me in a way that made it hard to breathe. The storage place on Harbor Road was almost 20 minutes away, and I walked fast, as if slowing down would make the fear catch up with me. Cars rushed past, drenching me even more, but I didn't care. My heart beat like it was trying to break out of my ribs. The key in my hand felt heavier than any object should. It felt like a promise. It felt like danger. When I finally reached Harbor Road, the rain softened into a thin mist. The storage facility sat behind a tall chain-link fence, its sign flickering weakly. Harbor Lock and Keep. A row of units stretched into the darkness, each with a metal door and a number painted in peeling white. The place was quiet. Too quiet. I pushed through the gate, shivering as the cold metal touched my skin. Unit 47B. That was the number on the tag Nathan had handed me. I walked down the narrow corridor between the storage garages, the echo of my steps bouncing off the metal walls. Each unit I passed felt like it hid something. Old memories, forgotten things, lost lives. And at the end of the row, number 47B waited for me like a breath I hadn't taken yet. I stopped in front of it, water dripping from my hair onto the ground. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. I slid the key into the lock. It resisted at first, stiff from years of weather. Then with a soft click it turned. The lock opened. My hand froze on the door handle as fear crawled up my spine. What if what was inside changed everything? What if I didn't recognize the man I loved after this? What if the truth broke me? But I forced myself to pull the door up. It groaned loudly, the sound echoing like a warning. Inside it was dark. I reached for the small chain hanging from the ceiling and pulled it. A single dim bulb flickered to life, casting long shadows across the small space. There wasn't much inside. A few cardboard boxes stacked neatly, a metal shelf with some old books, a small wooden chest sitting alone in the center of the room, and leaning against the Walt Lethan's black backpack. The one he always took on trips. The one he never let anyone go through. My throat tightened. I walked inside slowly as if stepping into a memory. The air smelled like dust and something faintly familiar like his cologne, old and faded. I touched the backpack with shaking fingers. It felt heavy. Heavier than I expected. I unzipped it carefully, afraid of what I might find. Inside were clothes, a passport, a burner phone with no contacts, a folded map with several places marked in red. My stomach twisted. Why would Ethan need a burner phone? Why would he mark hidden locations? What was he preparing for? I reached deeper into the bag and felt something sharp at the bottom. I pulled it out and froze. It was a photograph. A photograph of Ethan standing next to a man I didn't recognize. The stranger had a tattoo on his neck, a black snake coiled around a dagger. Ethan looked tense in the picture, not smiling, not relaxed, not himself. On the back of the photo was a handwritten note. If he comes back, run. My heart nearly stopped. Run from who? The man? Or Ethan? I put the photo down, my hands shaking so hard I could barely place it on the ground. I took a step back, breathing fast. That's when I noticed the wooden chest. Small, scratched, locked with a simple latch. My instincts pulled me toward it even though every part of me screamed to stay away. I knelt down and opened the lid. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all addressed to me. All written in Ethan's handwriting. My breath caught in my throat. My name repeated again and again on the envelopes. Some old, some new. Some with bent corners like he had carried them around. I picked one up, the oldest looking one, and opened it. The paper inside was yellowed slightly. The date on top made my body go cold. He had written this letter before we even met. Hannah, if you're reading this one day, it means the life I tried to build with you already started to crack. There are things about me you don't know. Things I tried to bury. I didn't want you to ever see this part of me. I wanted to give you a future without this weight. But I fear my past will not stay buried forever. My vision blurred as I read. My hands trembled harder. This wasn't a man writing to someone he had met. This was a man writing to someone he hoped one day he would deserve. I grabbed another letter. The paper was newer. I keep watching you at the cafe, wondering how someone like me could ever speak to someone like you. My breath shook. He had seen me before we even spoke for the first time. Before that first awkward smile. Before our first date. He had been carrying this secret from long before our beginning. My fingers reached for a third envelope. This one had a small stain on the corner, like a drop of rain had touched it. Inside, the words were short and broken. "I'm afraid they've found me again." My whole body froze. Found him. Who were they? I placed the letters on the ground, my chest rising and falling too fast. The dim light flickered above me, casting shadows on the walls. Everything inside me twisted. The love, the fear, the confusion. I wanted to scream, to cry, to demand answers. But then I saw it. A small metal box under the shelf. Half hidden. Almost like he didn't want anyone to find it. But also didn't hide it well enough if someone really tried. I pulled it out. The lid wasn't locked. I opened it slowly. Inside was something that made my entire body go cold. A gun, a single gun. And taped to the barrel, a note with my name. My vision tunneled. My breath hitched. The world went silent. Why would Ethan hide a gun tied to a note meant for me? What danger had he been preparing for? What future did he think would come for us? Before I could even think, before I could even breathe, a shadow suddenly crossed the entrance of the storage unit. A silhouette. Someone standing there. Someone watching me. The hairs on my arms rose. I wasn't alone. The shadow froze at the entrance, just outside the reach of the dim bulb above my head. For a second, I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. My breath felt trapped somewhere between my chest and my throat. The rain behind the figure made a soft, steady sound, almost peaceful while my pulse pounded violently in my ears. The silhouette didn't step closer. Didn't say a word. It just stood there, watching me. I felt the cold metal of the gun still resting inside the box at my knees. My fingers twitched, but I didn't touch it again. Not yet. I didn't want to look dangerous or scared or anything that could make this moment worse. My voice came out small and uneven. "Who's there?" The figure stepped forward slowly, and for a moment I felt my legs weaken. But then the person stepped under the light and I saw a familiar face. Not Ethan's, not someone I recognized from my life, but someone I had seen earlier that day. It was Lucas. My breath rushed out of me in a shaky wave, my shoulders dropping with relief and confusion mixing into something messy. "Lucas, why are you here?" I whispered. He was drenched from the rain, his jacket dripping water onto the concrete floor, his hair stuck to his forehead. He looked like he had run here, or like he had followed me. "I thought you might come," he said, his voice low and serious. "Nathan told me you left. He shouldn't have given you that key, not without warning you." My heartbeat sped up again, not as fear, but as frustration and panic twisting inside me. I stood up slowly, wiping my hands on my wet jeans. I needed answers. I couldn't just sit and wait. Lucas looked around the storage unit, his eyes landing on the open backpack, the scattered letters, the metal box. When he saw the gun, his face tightened with something like anger or dread. "You weren't supposed to see this yet," he said under his breath. That sentence hit my nerves like an electric shock. "Yet?" I repeated. "What does that mean?" Lucas didn't answer right away. He stepped deeper into the room, his eyes scanning every corner like he expected someone else to jump out. The silence stretched between us until I felt like I might scream. Finally, Lucas looked at me and said quietly, "Ethan was trying to get ahead of something. Trying to stay alive long enough to send you away if things got worse." My legs felt weak again. "Send me away?" I repeated, my voice cracking. "Why would he?" "Because—" Lucas interrupted softly. "He thought someone might use you to get to him." The air in the storage unit seemed to disappear. Use me as leverage. As a threat. I stepped back until my shoulder hit the wall. "Lucas, I don't understand. Why would anyone do that to him? What did he do?" Lucas's jaw tightened, his eyes flickering to the floor. "He got involved with the wrong people years ago. People who don't forget debts. People who don't forgive betrayal. That man in the picture?" I whispered, remembering the tattoos, the black snake around a dagger. Lucas didn't speak, but the answer was in his eyes. My hands began to shake again. What did Ethan owe them? Lucas looked at me with something like pity. His life. My breath caught sharply. No. Ethan isn't... He isn't that kind of person." Lucas nodded slowly. Not anymore, but the past doesn't care if you've changed. And these people definitely don't. Everything inside me twisted, fear, betrayal, disbelief, but overwhelmingly, love. My love for him kept rising above the panic, pushing me forward. So he left to protect me, I whispered. Yes, Lucas said. But he also left because he thought the danger was getting too close. He thought disappearing would buy you time. I felt something heavy fall inside my chest. Time for what? Lucas hesitated. Time, until they lost interest. Lost interest. Like the danger chasing Ethan could simply get bored. Like my life depended on someone else forgetting I existed. I felt the edge of panic rising again. Lucas, please. I need the truth. All of it. He stared at me for a long moment before he walked toward the wooden chest and picked up one of the sealed letters, one that had never been opened. His thumb brushed over my name written on the front. He wrote these for years, Lucas said softly. Some before he even spoke to you. Some when he thought he wouldn't survive another week. He looked at me then, really looked at me, and there was something fragile in his eyes. Hannah, you were the only good thing in his life, the only thing he didn't want to lose. My lips trembled. Then why didn't he trust me with the truth? Lucas exhaled slowly. Because love makes people foolish. And Ethan believed that if he'd let you see the whole picture, you'd run. And losing you scared him more than the people hunting him. My heart squeezed painfully. I wanted to deny it. To say I would have stayed no matter what. But would I have? If he had told me he was being followed, hunted, threatened by violent strangers, would I have stayed? I didn't know. And the not knowing hurt almost as much as the truth. Lucas took another step forward. There's something else you should see. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small folded paper, rain-soaked at the edges. Ethan gave me this the day before he left. Told me to keep it safe. I stared at the paper. My hands hesitated, then reached out. When I opened it, my breath caught in my throat. It was another letter, but this one was different. It was short, shaky, written like someone had no time. Hannah, if you ever find this, I'm sorry. I didn't want to disappear this way, but I had no choice. They found me again. I tried to keep them away from you. If Lucas gave you this, it means they're close. Too close. Please go somewhere safe. Don't look for me. Don't trust anyone who comes asking about me. I love you. I need you to survive this. E. My fingers pressed to my lips as tears filled my eyes. But when I looked up at Lucas, something in my chest twisted again. A thought I didn't want to have. A fear I didn't want to feel. Lucas, I whispered, stepping back instinctively. How do I know I can trust you? His face changed fast. Hurt, shock, a flicker of something like guilt. Or maybe just fear that I doubted him. I've been trying to protect you, he said quietly. That's what Ethan said too, I whispered shakily. Lucas stepped forward. Hannah, listen to me. But before he could finish, a loud noise echoed from the far end of the storage facility. A heavy slam. A door. Footsteps. Lucas's eyes widened. He moved fast. Too fast. He grabbed my arm. We need to go, he whispered urgently. They're here. Lucas pulled me toward the back of the storage unit, his grip tight around my wrist. I could hear the footsteps now slow at first, then heavier, multiplying. Like more than one person had entered the long corridor of storage units. The metallic echo bounced against the walls, sharp and cold. My heart thudded painfully inside my chest, each beat louder than the last. The rain outside seemed to fade, swallowed by the approaching sound. Lucas, who is it? I whispered, my voice barely holding steady. He didn't look back. People we don't want to meet. Keep quiet. The fear in his voice, real, shaky, unfiltered, made my entire body tense. I didn't know whether to trust him, but I knew one thing for certain. The footsteps coming toward us did not belong to anyone friendly. Lucas pushed open a narrow service door behind the storage unit, one I hadn't even noticed before, its metal frame rusted and half hidden behind a tall shelf. He motioned for me to go inside. I hesitated for a second, my breath shaking. Lucas, what if... He met my eyes. Hannah, please. You have to trust me. At least right now. Something in his face, fear mixed with desperation, pushed me forward. I slipped through the small doorway and Lucas closed it quietly behind us. The space was cramped, smelling of dust and old oil. A narrow hallway stretched into darkness, lit only by a flickering light at the far end. Lucas grabbed my hand again, guiding me down the corridor. This place connects to the back exit. We can get out through the alley. Behind us, the heavy footsteps reached Unit 47B. Then, silence. A silence so sharp it made my skin crawl. I could imagine them standing there, staring into the storage unit, seeing the open boxes, the scattered letters, the photograph, the gun. Seeing proof someone had been inside. Proof someone had touched the past they wanted to keep buried. Then, a bang, loud, violent. The metal door of Ethan's unit slammed against its frame. I flinched. Lucas squeezed my hand, urging me faster. We're running out of time. We hurried down the hallway, our footsteps quiet but rushed. My breath felt thin, tight in my throat. My mind spun with too many thoughts at once. Fear, confusion, the letters, the photograph, the gun, Ethan's warnings. And now this danger that felt suddenly real instead of distant. At the end of the hallway, Lucas pushed open a back door that led into a narrow alley behind the storage facility. Rain poured from above, bouncing off the pavement in silver droplets. The alley was dark and empty except for a few trash cans and a broken street lamp. Lucas stepped out first, scanning both directions. Okay, coast is clear. He stopped mid-sentence. A moment later, I understood why. A tall man stood at the mouth of the alley, half hidden under the broken lamp. Rain dripped from his shoulders, his face shadowed, but I saw the tattoo on his neck, a black snake coiled around a dagger, the same one in the photograph from Ethan's backpack. My breath froze in my lungs. Lucas took a small step in front of me, blocking part of my view, his body tense. Go back inside, he whispered. Hide. But the man stepped forward, his voice slow and calm, like someone who had all the time in the world. Well, he said, looks like I finally found what he left behind. Lucas's hand trembled ever so slightly, but his voice stayed steady. You don't want to do this. The man tilted his head, rain rolling down his face. Oh, but I do. I could feel my pulse in my throat, in my wrists, and my fingertips. I stepped back, but the door behind me felt too far away. My mind flashed with Ethan's last letter. If they come near you, run. But my legs wouldn't move. Fear anchored them to the ground. The tattooed man smiled slowly. Ethan always had a weakness. Never learned how to let things go. His eyes shifted to me, sharp, cold, predatory. And now, his weakness is standing right here. Lucas took a step forward. If you touch her. The man raised a hand casually. Relax. I'm not here to kill anyone. Not yet. A chill ran through my entire body. Then what do you want? I whispered, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded. He smiled. Answers. Same as you. Even though I already know more than you ever will. He stepped closer, his boots splashing in the puddles. I want to know where he's hiding. And I have a feeling you might help me more than you think. I shook my head quickly. I don't know where he is. The man paused, studied me. His eyes narrowed slightly, reading every twitch of my body. Maybe not, he said softly. But you know enough. Before Lucas could react, the man moved fast. Faster than I expected. He grabbed Lucas by the collar and slammed him against the wall. My gasp mixed with the sound of the impact. Lucas groaned but kept his hands up, palms open. Stop, I cried out. The man didn't even look at me. Tell me where your brother is, he hissed into Lucas's face. Now, brother. My mind reeled. Brother? Lucas wasn't, but the way the man said it, the tone, the certainty. My heart pounded painfully as a realization flickered in my mind like lightning. Ethan didn't just have one brother. He had two, and one of them was standing right in front of me. Lucas clenched his jaw, refusing to speak. Rain dripped from his chin onto the pavement. The tattooed man tightened his grip. For the first time since Ethan left, I saw it, the truth rising like a storm, a truth I wasn't ready to face, and then the tattooed man turned his head and looked directly at me. His smile widened. "Maybe she should be the one to ask," he said. My blood turned to ice. For a moment, the world around me shrank to the narrow alley, the echo of the rain, and the two men standing inches apart. Lucas pinned against the wall, the tattooed man gripping his collar, and me frozen just a few steps away, trying to make sense of the truth crashing over me like a wave. Brother. The word felt impossible, heavy, unreal. Yet the way they looked at each other, anger, history, something broken between them, told me everything I needed to know. Ethan had hidden so much, more than I ever imagined. The tattooed man loosened his grip on Lucas, just enough to turn fully toward me. His steps were slow, deliberate, like he wanted me to feel every second of his approach. I could see him clearly now, dark hair plastered to his forehead by rain, sharp jaw, eyes that looked hollow and dangerous all at once. He had Ethan's bone structure, Ethan's height, Ethan's intensity, but none of his warmth. It was like looking at a distorted reflection of the man I loved. "You're Hannah," he said, as if he already knew the answer. I didn't respond. I couldn't. He smiled a little. "Don't worry, I'm not here to hurt you unless you make me." Lucas pushed himself off the wall, breathing hard. "Leave her out of this, Marcus," he said, his voice tight. "This has nothing to do with her." Marcus. The name felt like a punch in my chest. Ethan never said it. Not once. Marcus shrugged. "Everything has to do with her now." Ethan made sure of that. I felt my breath catch. "What do you want from me?" I whispered. Marcus tilted his head slightly, studying my face the way someone studies a map. "I want to know what Ethan told you, what he left behind, what his plan was." Plan. Again, that word. It followed me like a shadow. "I don't know anything," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I only found a letter." Marcus's smile widened. Not kind. Not amused. Knowing. Like he could see straight through me. "One letter?" he repeated softly. "You expect me to believe that?" He glanced over my shoulder toward the storage unit. "You were inside his place, weren't you? You saw things you shouldn't." Lucas stepped between us. "She doesn't know anything that can help you. Leave her alone." Marcus moved so fast I barely saw it. His fist slammed into Lucas's stomach. Lucas doubled over with a gasp, clutching his side, rain dripping from his hair onto the pavement. I took a step forward instinctively, but Marcus raised a finger. "Stay right there, sweetheart," he said, not unkindly, but in a way that made my heart jolt painfully. "I don't want to hurt you. Really, I don't. But I need answers." My voice shook as I spoke. Ethan didn't tell me anything. He left to protect me. Marcus's eyes softened for a second, just a second before the hardness returned. "Protecting you is exactly what got him into this mess." Something inside me cracked. "Where is he?" I whispered. Marcus didn't answer. Instead, he stepped closer, close enough that I could see the rain sliding down his eyelashes. His expression shifted, not cruel, not warm, just deeply, painfully tired. "You really love him," he said quietly. The words hit something raw inside me. I swallowed hard, my voice barely a whisper. "Yes." Lucas straightened, still breathless. "Don't tell him anything, Hannah." Marcus didn't look at Lucas. His eyes stayed locked on mine. "I'm not your enemy," he said softly. "But I'm not your friend either." Lightning flashed faintly in the distance, lighting up the narrow alley. For a moment, everything felt suspended. The rain, the tension, my heartbeat. Then Marcus stepped back and said, "I'm going to ask you one last time. What did you find in that storage unit?" My mind raced, the letters, the map, the photo, the gun. If I told him the truth, would he go after Ethan harder? If I lied, would he know? Would he hurt Lucas? Would he hurt me? I lifted my chin, even though my hands trembled at my sides. I didn't find anything that tells me where he is. Only things that show he was scared. Marcus studied me for a long moment. His breathing slowed. Rain ran down his face, tracing tense lines across his jaw. Then something changed in his expression. "He didn't tell you about me, did he?" Marcus asked. My chest tightened painfully. "No." A bitter half-smile touched his lips. "Makes sense. Ethan always wanted to erase me. Make me invisible, Lucas murmured. Marcus, don't. But Marcus continued, his voice low and sharp as a knife. Ethan didn't tell you about our father either, or what he made us do, or what Ethan did to survive. My knees almost buckled. Stop, Lucas said urgently. She doesn't need to. She needs the truth, Marcus snapped. Then softer, looking at me, he left because he knew they would come for him first, and then for you. My heart pounded harder and harder. Where is he? I whispered. Marcus stepped closer again, his eyes softening unexpectedly. I knew, he said quietly, this would already be over. The words hit me harder than any threat. He didn't know. Lucas didn't know, no one knew. Ethan was truly alone. Thunder rolled across the sky. Marcus exhaled slowly as if trying to steady himself. We're running out of time, Hannah. Those men, they're not stopping. And if they figure out who you are... He didn't finish the sentence. Lucas moved beside me. We need to leave. Now. Marcus didn't stop us. He just stared at me with an expression I couldn't read, sympathy or a warning or regret. Maybe all three. But as Lucas pulled me away, guiding me back toward the street, Marcus called out softly, Hannah. I turned. If you find him first. His voice trembled just slightly. Tell him I never stopped looking. The rain swallowed his figure as we stepped into the street. But his words stayed with me, settling in my chest like a weight I didn't know how to carry. And for the first time since Ethan vanished, I realized something terrifying and true. This wasn't just my search anymore. It wasn't just about love. It was about survival. Lucas held onto my arm as we hurried down the wet street, the rain coming down in cold sheets that blurred the world into moving shadows and glimmering lights. My pulse was still racing from the alley, from Marcus's words. From the realization that everything I thought I knew about Ethan had been cracked open like fragile glass. The truth wasn't just hidden, it was dangerous, tangled, alive, and now it was following us. We turned the corner, passing a row of closed shops with rainwater dripping from their awnings. The streets were empty, silent except for the storm. Lucas finally slowed down, letting go of my arm, and leaned against the wall to catch his breath. I stood beside him, shivering, trying to steady myself even though my knees felt like they might buckle. I wiped the rain from my face. Lucas? What just happened? He ran a hand through his soaked hair, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. Marcus happened, he said quietly. He's always been unpredictable. He wants answers and he'll do anything to get them. My voice trembled. Why didn't Ethan tell me he had another brother? Lucas looked away, jaw tightening. For a moment, I thought he wouldn't answer. Then he said softly, because Marcus was part of the life Ethan was trying to escape. The words hit me like cold water inside my chest. What life? Lucas hesitated, choosing his words slowly. Their father. He wasn't a good man, Hannah. He raised Ethan and Marcus in a world no kid should grow up in. Violence, crime, favors that had to be paid back. Ethan ran as soon as he was old enough. Marcus stayed, and everything got worse. I felt my breath shake, so Ethan left him behind. Not exactly, Lucas said. Ethan tried to save him, tried for years, but Marcus was already tied to things that don't let you walk away. He looked at me then, his eyes filled with something heavy. They're brothers, Hannah, but from two different worlds. My chest tightened with the pain I didn't know how to name. And now those worlds are crashing into each other. Lucas nodded slowly. Because of you. The words pierced through me like an arrow. Because of me? I didn't do anything. I know, he whispered. But Ethan loved you. And that made you the only weakness he had left. I wrapped my arms around myself as if that could hold me together. The rain had soaked through my clothes, but the cold inside me wasn't from the storm. It was from the truth. The truth that I had been unknowingly standing in the middle of a battle I didn't understand. I'm so scared, I whispered, my voice cracking. Lucas stepped closer, softer now. I know, but I'm not going to let anything happen to you. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to feel safe. But Ethan had said the same thing, and now he was gone. A sudden noise behind us made me jump. A car speeding through a puddle, spraying water against the curb. My nerves were so raw that even small sounds felt like threats. Lucas placed a hand on my shoulder, grounding me. "Come on. I'm taking you somewhere safe." "Where?" I asked weakly. "A friend's place," he said. "Someone who owes Ethan a favor. They won't look for you there." The idea of hiding made my stomach twist, but I nodded. I didn't know what else to do. Lucas led me down another street, this one narrower, lined with parked cars and flickering street lamps. My eyes kept darting around, expecting Marcus or someone worse to appear from the shadows. We walked in silence for several minutes until Lucas suddenly slowed, looking behind us. I followed his gaze. A dark car turned the corner. I didn't think much of it at first until it slowed down and kept slowing. Lucas grabbed my hand. "Don't run," he whispered. "Not yet." The car rolled closer, headlights dim through the rain, engine low and steady. Felt every hair on my arm stand up. The car passed us, then stopped just a few feet ahead. Lucas muttered under his breath, "Damn it." The driver's door opened. A man stepped out, tall, wearing a hooded jacket, face shadowed. He didn't look familiar. But something about his slow, confident steps made my heart pound faster. Lucas moved in front of me again. "Stay behind me." The man stopped just a few feet from us. "Evening," he said calmly, his voice deep and steady. "You two look a little lost." Lucas didn't answer, his body tense like a spring pulled too tight. The man took another step forward, lifting his head slightly so the streetlight illuminated his face. He wasn't Marcus, but he carried the same cold emptiness in his eyes. "I'm looking for someone," he said. "Maybe you can help." Lucas clenched his fists. "We can't." The man smirked. "You didn't even let me finish." Then his eyes shifted to me. "A woman named Hannah Whitmore." My blood froze. Before I could react, Lucas grabbed my hand and whispered, "Run!" This time I didn't question him. We ran. Our footsteps pounded against the wet pavement, splashing through puddles as the storm raged around us. I heard the man shout something, then the pounding footsteps of him running after us. Lucas pulled me down another street, then another, turning sharply as if trying to lose him in the maze of alleys and side roads. My lungs burned. My legs ached. But fear kept pushing me forward. We turned one more corner, but the ground was slippery. I stumbled, my knees hitting the pavement. Lucas crouched beside me. "Are you okay?" I'm fine," I gasped, trying to get up, but then I froze. At the end of the alley, silhouetted by the streetlight, stood another man. Then I heard footsteps behind us. We were trapped. Lucas positioned himself in front of me again. "Stay back," he yelled. But the men didn't stop. They moved slowly, like they were already sure of the outcome. I backed up until my shoulders hit the wall. The rain hit my skin like needles. My breath came in sharp, terrified bursts. "Lucas," I whispered, trembling. "What do we do?" He didn't turn. I'm thinking, but I could hear the fear in his voice too. And the truth pressed itself against my ribs. We weren't getting out of this alley alone. One of the men stepped forward. "Hannah," he said calmly. "Come with us. We just want to talk," Lucas shouted. "Don't listen to him." The man smiled slightly. "We're not here to hurt you." A lie. I could feel it. I pressed myself harder against the wall, tears mixing with rain. "Lucas," I whispered. He squared his shoulders. "They're not taking you." But the man behind us spoke for the first time. "Lucas," he said in a low voice. "Move. Don't make this worse." My blood turned cold. That voice. Lucas stiffened. "I know that voice," I whispered. He didn't answer. Slowly, trembling, I turned my head. The man stepped closer under the streetlight, lowering his hood. And my world shattered. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't another enemy. It was Ethan, soaking wet, alive, eyes full of pain, and whispering my name like it was breaking him. "Hannah," he said. Everything inside me collapsed. The world stopped moving. The rain, the footsteps, the voices, they all fell away as Ethan stepped under the streetlight. His face was thinner, his eyes darker, his jaw tighter. He looked like a man who hadn't slept in days, like someone running from every shadow behind him. But he was real, alive, just a few steps away, and for a moment I couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't think. All I could do was stare at the man I loved, the man who left me with nothing but a letter and a breaking heart. Hannah, he whispered again. My name trembled in his mouth like he wasn't sure he deserved to say it. My knees weakened. I pressed my back against the cold brick wall, trying to keep myself standing. Ethan, I breathed, my voice barely holding together. Why? Why are you here? Why did you? Not now, he said quickly, eyes darting to the two men blocking the alley's exit. We don't have time. Lucas moved in front of me, his body tense. You shouldn't have come, he hissed at Ethan. You're going to get her. I'm trying to save her, Ethan snapped, his voice cracking under the weight of everything he'd been carrying. I never stopped trying. The men stepped closer. Rain rolled off their jackets in heavy drops. One of them, a tall man with a scar across his cheek, spoke first. You know how this works, Ethan. You can't outrun us. Not forever. Ethan raised his hands slightly, not in surrender but in warning. She has nothing to do with this. Let her walk away. The scarred man smiled coldly. She has everything to do with it. You made sure of that. Ethan took a step forward, desperation in every line of his face. Take me, just me. Leave her out of it. My heart cracked open. Ethan, stop, I whispered. I'm not leaving you. I'm not. You have to, he said, turning to me. His eyes were filled with fear, love, and something deeper, something that felt like goodbye. I told you not to come looking for me. I told you to stay safe. My voice broke. I can't stay safe without you. For a moment his expression softened. I saw my Ethan again, the one who held me in his arms on quiet mornings, who laughed against my neck, who whispered promises in the dark. But then his face hardened again as the men stepped closer. Lucas moved beside Ethan. If you want him, you'll have to go through me. The man with the scar raised an eyebrow. 2 brothers. Then he looked at me. And one girl who thinks love can save any of them. I don't think, I said, my voice trembling but loud enough to echo against the wet brick walls. I know. The scarred man's smile faded. And for a heartbeat, everything was silent. Then Ethan moved. He grabbed Lucas by the arm and shoved him toward me. Get her out of here, he ordered. Now. Lucas stumbled, caught himself, and reached for me. But before he could pull me away, I grabbed Ethan's hand. Rain ran down his fingers, cold and shaking. You can't do this alone, I whispered. I've always done this alone, he said, voice breaking. But I won't drag you down with me. You didn't drag me, I said, tears mixing with the rain. I followed you. I chose you. His face twisted with pain, real, raw, human pain. I don't want you to regret that choice. I never will. Another man stepped forward, forcing the moment to shatter. Touching, he muttered, but time's up. Ethan moved fast, so fast I barely saw it. He stepped between me and the men, arms outstretched. She walks away, he said. That's the deal. There is no deal, the scarred man said. You owe us more than you can pay. Ethan's voice dropped to a whisper I almost didn't hear. Then take me. My chest tightened. Ethan, no. He turned to me one last time. His eyes, those soft brown eyes that once looked at me like I was his whole world, held mine with an ache I felt in my bones. I love you, he said quietly. I grabbed his face with trembling hands, then stay. Stay with me. We can run, we can hide. We can start over. He shook his head, forehead touching mine. They'll never stop chasing us if we're together. Lightning flashed above us, illuminating his face, the tears on my cheeks, the rain-soaked ground. Ethan kissed my forehead softly, so softly it broke me open. Then he stepped away. The scarred man nodded toward his partner. Take him. Everything inside me screamed, no! I cried, reaching out, but Lucas pulled me back, holding me tight. I fought against his grip, kicking, pushing, desperate. But Lucas held me, whispering, Hannah, stop, please, please. 2 men grabbed Ethan by the arms. He didn't resist. He didn't fight. He just looked at me as they pulled him away, his eyes saying everything he couldn't. I love you, I'm sorry, live, don't follow me this time. When they reached the end of the alley, Ethan twisted his neck to look at me one last time. His voice carried through the storm like a fading echo. You were the only good thing I ever had. Then he disappeared around the corner. Gone. Again. My legs gave out beneath me. Lucas held me as I collapsed to the wet pavement, sobs ripping through my chest like something dying inside me. The rain washed the tears from my face, but it couldn't wash the pain. Nothing could. "He's gone," I whispered. "He's really gone." Lucas didn't try to lie. He just held me tighter. Minutes passed. Or hours. I didn't know. All I felt was the empty space where Ethan had been. When my sobs finally slowed, Lucas helped me stand. "We need to move," he said softly. "They might come back." I didn't argue. I didn't speak. I just let him guide me out of the alley, my body numb, my heart shattered. We walked silently through the rain-soaked streets. I didn't know where we were going, I didn't care. All I knew was that my Ethan had given me the one thing he could still give, a chance to live. But as we turned the corner, something made me stop. A feeling, a flicker of something inside me. On the ground, near the alley entrance, partially soaked by the rain, lay a small piece of paper. I knelt down and picked it up with shaking fingers. It was a note, 3 words, written in his handwriting, "I'll find you." My breath caught, my heart ached, but something warm flickered inside my broken chest. Hope, faint, fragile, but alive. I pressed the paper to my heart, closed my eyes, and whispered into the storm, "I'll be waiting."